Hello, good morning, friends. So today we will discuss about the preparation strategy of civil services examination personality test, or often called as interview. I'm Tarun Goyal, IPS 2022 batch. So I'm receiving a lot of questions as to how to prepare for interview. So I thought that I'll make a video about it. First, we will go straightly into what all needs to be done for civil services personality test. So, as all of you know, then everybody says it's a personality test. So, you have to come out with who you are as a person in the personality test. So, the first thing that is important is the detailed application form. So, all of you fill the detailed application form very, very carefully. So, in that, there are three particularly important things that we must carefully consider. Now, I have my def with me, so I'll keep mentioning like what are the critical areas. So one is that when you see there is this thing prize, medals, and scholarship. So prizes, medals, and scholarship. So here you can all mention like what you have earned in your schools and colleges. Now nobody is asking you specifically that you have got this in school or in college. So you can mention all of it. So, like what I had mentioned was that I won a silver medal in debating competition in inter-services meet of Masuri, Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration when I was in railways. So I had mentioned that I won a silver medal into that, and then exactly your wordings are very important. Like what words you choose to write in your detailed application form. Choose those words which would evoke a sort of curiosity, a sort of imagination of the panelist there. So they would like to ask you questions on that. So I wrote silver medal in inter-services meet debate competition at LBS NAA. Now be specific. If I write merely that I am a debater or I like debating, it may be very open-ended. But I would rather give them a specific concrete example of where I did prove my speaking capability and did prove my debating capability. So in this thing, it brings authenticity, it brings proof that you did something, and also it in a way limits their scope of going here and there and asking you sort of peculiar question. So be specific when you once you are writing, so that helps, and it also will give you a fodder to speak about many things. Then secondly, I wrote about empathetic probationer award at Railway Academy. So my academy had announced me for most empathetic probationer when I was in railway. So I had mentioned that, and then I mentioned AIR 17 in CA IPCC. That is Chartered Accountancy, IPCC. I was All India rank 17, so I have mentioned that. So this column is very important. I mean, you may mention even the trivia in this. It doesn't matter. So what matters is that you have strong conviction about that thing what you are writing, and you sort of consider that this thing is important to me, that I did this. So whatever you have done, it may be a certificate, it may be working with an NGO, it may be working somewhere, or whatever you did. Even if there was no medal for it, you can still write it if you want them to ask you questions around these areas. And then the second column is sports, NCC, etc. Now I had left it blank back then because I was not at all into sports back then, and I did nothing. Now, of course, if I was there today, so for example, I like running now. So I did marathon recently in Hyderabad. So I would have mentioned about running as a sport, or recreational running, meditative running, things like that. And somebody who is into sports, let's say cycling or any particular sports, they should write it. Now, even if you are not a champion into that sport, if you want to write, you can write. So NCC, if somebody is a member, they should write. So what it is that once you mention any particular thing into any of these columns, the only trick is that you have to know everything about it. So, for example, if I mention running, then they may ask me that, like how much you run, where do you run, and then if you are running in a hilly area, what all you need to remember, and then what is this cardio thing, and then how your heart functions. I mean, associated metrics related to that of the running and so on. So for example, we practice chi running, then they can ask about chi running. So one thing I've always wanted to say is that if they ask you anything, for example, running, they are asking a question. So we should always be prepared in the sense that what I want to say, not merely what they are asking. So in the sense that I know, let's say, if in running example, I want to give an example of a technique of running, which is chi running, then I must drop that word somewhere. So their emotions will get evoked, and they will ask me further question on chi running, right? So that's how it works. And then the next thing in def is position or positions of distinction leadership held in school or college. So they are asking where you manifested your leadership capability in your school and colleges. Now some people ask me that in college I was a member or secretary or this or that club. Can I mention that? See, it is okay to mention that you were secretary or something, but what is even better is that you write that I did this or that while I was secretary. So that would be more authentic of what you did. Otherwise, they presume that in northern, let's say in Delhi University, everyone is a member or secretary of some club or this or that club. What you actually did, that actually brings more authenticity, and it can be very remote also. It can be something which you tried, but it did not happen. So, for example, if you were working on a mission of related to some social service thing, mention that. They would ask questions on that. So, rather than letting them having a vast latitude of asking haywire questions, you are giving them material from which through which they can know you better. Because their objective is very simple. They want to know you as a person, who you are. So I'm facilitating them to know me. So that's the strategy to write this thing. So now think about it, what I wrote in my DAF in distinct leadership in school and college. Now, I did very less things in college because I was busy in chartered accountancy and then in civil, but I did a lot in my school days. So nobody asks you whether you did it in school or college. The thing is, you did it, so you write it. So I wrote co-led mission 1415 now, and also now many people come with prior work experiences. So you have the advantage of showing it here. You may have done something for your organization, for your colleagues there. So write that. So I wrote co-led mission 1415. So this was one. Now mission 1415 was something that we conceptualized in railways when COVID happened. So me and my colleagues started mission 1415 that every person would fund the food of 15 people who are going through Shramik special trains, because at that time due to COVID, IRCTC was not in a position to supply the meal in many trains, because there was this threat of spreading of virus and so on through large kitchens. So we supplied them through an NGO. The Raksha Patra was there, and Maharaja Sayaji Rao University. So we started this mission that every railway official was funding food of 15 people. So we were sponsoring the entire trains of food in collaboration with Sayaji Rao University and Akshay Patra. So that was a mission I mentioned. Then I wrote co-founded Impact Club in Railway Academy. So we had started this club, Impact Club, that every probationer would come and then they would bring their energy to do some social impact around their lives. And then I have written Project Chief of Renewable Energy Models. Now, this I wanted to tell you how you can use even little things. So in 10th class, there was the science exhibition in my school, and I had made a project about renewable energy. So we had made this big science model where how utilizing wind energy you can bring water out of the ground, how you can utilize solar, how you can utilize geothermal. So that was a model we made. Now that was a pretty simple and, like somebody would say, a very ordinary model, but I used it in my interview because I know government is focusing a lot on renewable energy. So if I mention something about renewables, it's gonna be asked for sure by the interview panelist. So I wrote Project Chief. Now the wording is very important since it is asking you the leadership role that you played. Now, of course, we made it as a team, but here you can just write I was project chief. Of course, I was leading that as well. So the thing is, the title that you give to yourself becomes important. It should manifest that you lead it. I mean, that you led, and that you manage the teams, etc. So I had written project chief of renewable energy model. So write such kind of a phrase which evokes imagination of the listener, which evokes that okay, I must ask that since he has been in leadership role in renewable energy model. So I remember I had three interviews with civil services. Right, in my first attempt when I was selected for IRPS, I had with Air Marshal, and second attempt also I had with Air Marshal, and in third attempt, third time I had with Chief Statistician of India. So all of them asked questions on renewable energy all the time, and they asked me a lot. They said that what is the statistics of renewable energy? I told them, and then they asked what are the difficulties. Now I told them that these are the difficulties in expanding the renewable energy, and then they asked me. I had said in my answer again, the answers are very important in the interview. Give answers in such a manner that they have to ask a further question. So I had said to them that, look, it is very, very difficult to frame policy today of energy because energy mix is getting critical. It is very difficult to make. And then they said that, okay, since you are saying that it is energy mix is making is difficult, so suppose you are the energy secretary or the energy minister, and you are tasked to make the energy mix of the country and make it for us right now. So I picked up a paper. I thought for 2 minutes that, okay, I'll make nuclear 5%. I'll make solar this many percentage. So I gave them an energy mix, and then we discussed about it. But then he mentioned that you wanted to increase nuclear to 5%. I said yes, sir. And then he said, do you know it is the costliest of source of the electricity? Okay, and then you have to be assimilative. You may argue with them if you have big data. I mean data at your back. Otherwise, I said, okay, sir, I didn't know about it. So you can say that so whatever you mention, they write it in such a fashion, I mean, in a creative language and creative words, that they will ask questions on that topic. Now, the another one is I had written led buddy mentor initiative in college. Now, I was very fond in college that, okay, I'll give lectures. For example, when GST came, I gave lectures to MBA, I mean SRCC students, that too who were my seniors. So there was no name of the initiative, but in the DAF I gave a name, Buddy Mentor, that everybody is mentoring each other. So Buddy Mentor Initiative. That's our mission on igniting students also. So that is the creative way you utilize whatever you have been doing in your school and in your college. Now the third thing that is asked in DAF is very important: other extracurricular activities and interests such as hobbies. Now, people mention this that it is merely hobby column. No, it is not merely hobby column. It says extracurricular activities and interest. So, whatever areas you are interested to work for, you can write that also, even if you may not have done that right now. So what I wrote is, again, I used to write a lot of articles on my website, tarungoyal.org. But I thought that if I merely write, I'm a writer or I'm a blogger, they may not be interested to ask questions because every other person writes that, okay, they are a writer. And it's not a big deal either. Yeah, once you are a civil services aspirant, it's not a big deal to say, okay, I'm a writer or I'm a blogger. So I made it specific after thinking and thinking. I analyzed my write up and I analyzed that it is merely on organizational behavior, leadership, HR management. Because I was in railways before, so I had 20,000 employees for me, for whom I used to work, and I was HR manager for them, sort of. So, and I had 22,000 pensioners. So I concretized it, and I wrote in my hobby section that blogging my reflections on organizational behavior and life issues. Now, I made it specific that I write mostly about organizational behavior and life issues. So, obviously, they have now concrete stuff to ask. That, okay, what sort of articles you write? I mentioned three or four. Now, always, I remember like three or four the best articles I wanted to write. So, I remember I had mentioned about Burnout Holiday. That was the title of the write up. And one was Forest Organizations. I had written about it, and then I had written about 2G of Smile, and I mentioned fourth article also. What it was, I forgot. And then the chairperson picked it up. He said that, look, this article seems interesting. Tell me more about it. He asked, and then he became very excited about that article, and then what we can do in government organizations through that. So that's how. I mean, if I would not have specified it that I like to write about organizational behavior issues, perhaps they would not even consider asking any question from that. So that was about it in the interview. And my second hobby, which I wrote, was public advocacy and public speaking. And public advocacy and speaking. This is what I've written. So there also, I thought and thought that how I can make it impressive in the sense that I like to speak in public. That's there. I like to give speeches. Whenever that was my hobby in a way that, for example, even after coming out of SRCC in 2018, I remember there was this budget which came out, and I used to take session on that. So I immediately called my professor. He called me, okay, Ajao, and then we had a session on budget and economic survey in SRCC. So the thing is, now this is public speaking. Now, if I write ordinarily public speaking, even then it looks cliche. People are speakers, people are good speakers, and so on. So they would understand, okay, that person speaks. Instead of that, we made it public advocacy. Now, advocacy is a totally different ball game. Now, I remember in my interview, one panelist picked it up. Now, ma'am asked me that, do you know public advocacy? And there are so many laws in India and the world which are made through public advocacy. So, give me three example. I mean, three laws which are made because of the efforts of public speaking. So we talked about it, and then she said that, what do you advocate about? Now I said, ma'am, I am very much interested to speak against dowry, and I have been speaking against this malpractice on the forums, and we should eradicate this. So once I talked about dowry, one was my very issue which was close to my heart was female feticide, and thirdly about education, because I was since then also I was that everyone should teach each other whatever we have to share. Now, since I mentioned that, so the discussion went on further and further. So this was public advocacy part. Now, third was event designing. Now, event designing, I could have mentioned what it was that I used to organize a lot of function in my job. So there would be many public events which I would organize being an HR officer. So I like that. So rather than writing that I like to organize functions and all, that would be cliche. I wrote event designing. Now event designing again is very interesting. Then I mentioned in my hobby is cooperative cooking. Now I used to like cooking with my neighbors. So since I was alone there, so I sort of got into this that once a week we would cook, and then I used to go in railway colonies and cook with my staff, celebrating with them. So I don't know the full cooking, right? But then I can do certain steps. So some people would give me, I mean, some people would make the atta, and then I can fry puris out of it. I can make chapatis out of it, right? So that is sort of the cooperative thing that we used to do. Now there was no name for this hobby as such. I liked cooking, so it was also becoming traditional for boys to write that okay we like cooking, and then they would also understand okay this person is trying to look in a way that okay I'm gender neutral type. I don't believe in gendered roles of the society, then their mind would go in that direction that okay the person wants to project that image for oneself, that perhaps that's why the boys especially are writing that we love cooking. Now that is ordinary, so that has become ordinary, so you have to find out that what extra you can write. So I thought about it, what I actually like. So that's why I wrote cooperative cooking. Now this word is so sort of fancy that they asked that what is cooperative cooking, how do you do that, and then I said that okay we do this way, and then it is a very effective instrument against loneliness which can kick in at such a remote places where we work. And also it is a very good way to start bonhomie among your staff members as well. Once you go cook with them, eat with them, it really helps you in building a friendship there. So that was my hobby, and then the last one I wrote was love to talk and ride my cycle. Now I had mentioned this that because I'm a conversationist, so I wrote that love to talk. Now it sounds very informal, and I remember my death was seen by a senior official, retired one, and he has said that it is very foolish or it is childish to write love to talk. Everyone can talk. See, but then I would say to you this that it doesn't matter what is ordinary or extraordinary. If this is who you are, and if you want to talk about it, just go for it. Okay, so and don't worry about what feedback you get in your mock interviews. Don't give too many mocks. Also, in my first attempt, I gave only one perhaps, and then I was so scared after the feedback I did not give. But this time I gave two. So totally till date, I have given three mock interviews. But it is very important that you record yourself. For example, you can record yourself on camera and then see how you speak. So it is important where you take pauses, where you are you using respectful language or not. So that is very important. And this time, my brother helped me a lot. So he would see my recorded video of those two interviews, and he would give me very minute, very precise feedback that okay you are using but too much. For example, when somebody makes an argument, I'm saying okay but. Now once you use but, it sort of breaks the relationship between you and the listener. So that person may see it as confrontationist, so that may be difficult. So rather than using but, often in your conversation you may use however, or you may use very polite language also. One important thing is in interview is not to use I often, and not to use use sort of third person language or diplomatic language in a way where you depersonalize the things. I would not call it diplomatic also. It is about depersonalizing the issues. So, for example, rather than saying that you can say that okay, in nation this can be done, or in my submission this is possible, right? So persuasive style of speaking rather than imposing style of speaking. Persuasive, but yet very firm, very determined, and very confident that the person knows okay you are very confident in what you are speaking, but at the same time you are open to new conversations also. So in a way it is what J.M. Keynes used to say that if at all I've got an opinion, why would I be humble about it? And then someone asked him later that you said this thing like years ago, now you are saying something which is totally different, which is again contradicting your own self. Then he very beautifully said that when facts change, I change my opinion. What do you do, sir? So in the sense that so in interviews also, whatever we speak, it has to go with a lot of conviction, belief, faith, and your positivity for the nation. You should have faith in your nation. You should have pride in your nation. So that is above everything else. There should be so in every of your answer, two or three elements should come. One is your vision for the nation. So see, there are many people who are coming. So they are interested to know. One is who you are as a person. Are you genuine or not? And secondly, what do you bring at the table? If you are given the command of the nation, what would you do? I mean, do you have got some vision out there? So you have to project in every answer that okay, I've got a nice vision for growth of my country. If I go there, and every answer should be sort of empathetic for the weaker sections of society, in the sense those who need to catch up. For those sections of society, you need to be assimilative for those sections in every of your answer. So every of your answer should have a grassroots tone. That it is not something which is merely read from the books. It is something which the person has thought through to impact the lives of the people at the ground. So that should come in your every answer. I'll give you examples for that. But before that, the last hobby, as I said, love to talk and ride my cycle. On that also, they asked a lot of questions. I remember one panelist asked that you have mentioned love to talk. So is it true that you can talk to anybody for any number of hours at any time? Then I smiled and said that yes, ma'am, perhaps that's the case. But more, I would like to talk purposive in the sense that we can go into deeper conversations. But I'm not a gossip kind of a person. So here in interview, I mean, before going there, understanding your own self is very important. So you should be very thorough that okay, I want to convey this. So there is to be some material in your brain which you have to speak in front of them, right? So bring it somehow into your conversation. And then ride my cycle also. They asked me question. One panelist asked me that okay, you live at Firozpur. Back then I was in Punjab. So if you are going from your home to border, let's say of Pakistan, and what sort of bicycle you would like to use? Now I know that he was hinting towards hybrid bicycles, and then I didn't want to sound that fancy. I said that sir, I have just one cycle, so I ride it whether I'm in city or I'm in a rural area. So he said okay, and then he himself suggested give them space to speak, no? And then he himself suggested that okay, if you are there, maybe hybrid cycle would be better. I said okay, sir. And then so this is this thing. And then coming to most general question. Now coming to again DAF, whatever is there from where you belong, what your parents do, everything you have to be very thorough, especially with your name also. So my name is Tarun. So I remember in my first interview, Air Marshal asked me that okay, Tarun, you have a very nice name, Tarun. So do you think your name would be suitable to you once you turn 99 years of age? That was his question. And because Tarun means a young and energetic person, so he meant it that way that would this name suit you when you would be 90? And then I had said that look, sir, I'm here to get the job which I like, and if I get the work which I want, even if I turn 100, I'll be equally energetic and joyful and young. So that name would be perfectly suitable to me. And then he immediately asked me second question that Tarun, you have done so many things as we are reading in your DAF. So is there anything impossible for you? Um, so at that time, I didn't give a very nice answer. I just said that till date nothing has been impossible, but maybe in future I may encounter something that seems impossible. Rather than that, today after having worked, if I am to answer that question today, I'll bring organizational leadership into every answer. So I'll say that okay, sir, individually as a human being, yes, I see my limitations and there are many, many things which are impossible for me. But when I have people to work with, believe me, there is nothing which we can't do. The real answer it in this way. So in every answer, you have the opportunity to manifest your leadership capability, your team spirit, your integrity, your authenticity, and your sort of compassionate heart towards your own people and your vision for your country and your belief and faith. So these elements should come in every answer. There should be energy, there should be pride, there should be passion that okay, the person is really, really, really willing to come. And then I remember they asked me this time that okay, Tarun, you are working in a class one service in railways for 3.5 or 4 years, and then you are promoted also, but you are now picking up, let's say, changing your job. So is it a wise decision to take? Because in government seniority matters, and you would go to the top of post in any organization because you joined at a very young age. So chairperson asked me this question. So why do you want to join IAS, let's say, or IPS, let's say? Why you are willing to shift? Then now this question everyone is asked, almost everyone now who shift their job, especially those people. Now, the thing is this: either you can say what everyone says, "Oh, I want job diversity, I want to interact with more people." Now, that's okay, and that's I think you can do in any job. But what I had said was this: again, for this question, I did a sort of soul searching in myself. I sort of before going into the interview when I had 7 days to prepare. So I was thinking that okay, why I started to think that I'll be an administrator someday, involved in public life. Why that thing happened. So in that, I remember. So many incidents happened around me. I remember. So I saw people doing female feticide. So that's when I used to think that when I'll be administrator, and then I used to hear that district magistrate or let's say police SP is a big deal. And then I used to imagine when I was a kid, okay, when I'll be that, I'll talk to people, I'll persuade them not to do this, and this thing will stop. Then in dowry problem I used to see, and then I saw that my mother she could not get treatment because we used to live in a rural area back then when I was born, and then she was shifted to Ames Delhi, and then Ames treated her. So I was wondering that why not Ames? Why not a good hospital in every district? So if I go in district, I can make hospitals better. Similarly, I was in a very small school, so I used to think that okay, we need education where people are getting professional education at free of cost, and we have playgrounds to have. So I gave answer exactly like this. That okay, sir, this happened in my childhood, and that's why I wanted to work for health. This happened in my childhood, I wanted to work for education. This happened in my childhood, I wanted to prevent female feticide and dowry. So I gave them three or four very short stories in like 1 or 2 minutes. So that's your power of storytelling. So if you are thinking through soul searching that okay, why I wanted this particular job, that becomes authentic. And now to probe your authenticity, they'll ask questions. Now, since I said I would like to work for female feticide, and then I remember one ma'am asked me that, okay, tell me the data of Haryana, and then how Haryana is progressing with Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. What would you do differently? And then Haryana at that time had started progressing in terms of number of female vis-a-vis male after the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and many sort of social awareness there. So I talked about it. Then they said okay, and then the second person asked me, you were asking about health. So if you are married district magistrate, what would you do for health? And then I mentioned three four things to them that okay, no, at this particular time you are supposed to speak from DM's perspective. What is in your hand to do, not at national level policymaker stuff. That is not in your hand as of now. So I remember I had said that okay, sir, for communicable diseases, I would keep parks and जो भी drainage है, I would keep it clean. And then I said that for non-communicable diseases, I would like to say that for schools in 1 or 2 kilometers of the radius from the school, I would like it a situation where healthy eating options are available with the students. Right now, only chips, cola, unhealthy eating options are there with the students, so they are forced in a way to eat those things. And then thirdly, I had mentioned about I remember ASHA workers and our grassroots system and replicating that in urban areas as well. And fourth thing also I mentioned. So four reasons I mentioned. And then I remember the interview panelist said to me, yeah, I remember when I was a school student, there used to be chूरन. 1 रुपए का चूरन मिलता था हमारे स्कूल के बाहर, and I used to have that, and I laughed and I said, sir, yes, I also used to eat churran and it used to be really tasty. So think about it. So if you can bring down your conversation to so many high looking matters to something that is very deep of childhood, very personal, very joyful. What better in a conversation? So in conversation, we used to talk like that. I mean, they talk very freely. They are very nice people to talk to, and talk as if you are representing your nation, and also you have to start a very friendly conversation. So coming to some other very important aspect, what is important? How do you greet while you enter is very important. So practice for that. Some people may like to say good morning. Some people may like to say namaskaram. It is up to you. I used to prefer in my this interview I did like this and I said namaskaram in my second interview, and I remember Air Marshal had said to me, yeah, Viraji padharo. So that's what he had greeted. That's the way he greeted me, and then and the energy, and then at that particular day your energy matters a lot. If you go with a dull face, if you go with very dull energy, it would not be very healthy. So every answer should be with energy, with joy from within, right? कि इसी के लिए तो wait कर रहे थे. And then thirdly, about nervousness, I don't think you need to be nervous there because see, anyway you have 20 minutes out there and it's gonna be best conversation that you can have with somebody. So there are so much learned people and it is really good to talk to them. It is like you are talking to your grandparents or maybe very senior people. I mean, it really feels good. So just be respectful, just be yourself. It's gonna be okay. Fourthly, do not come into negative feedback from these mock interviews. I remember in my both mock interviews I got this feedback: you smile too much, and then your smile is too broad. Now do not come into these sort of complexity. You see, these things you cannot change because if you try to do that artificially, it will be very fake. If you try to manipulate it in 5 or 6 days, so rather than that, I would say you be yourself, modulate. It should be respectful. That's it. So do that, and what else? Your voice and tone is important. What kind of words you use is supremely critical. So if you are answering for as a subject matter specialist, as a civil services aspirant, you should speak in a legal language. You should speak where it is due. I mean, you should speak authentic sources. You should not speak like totally merely a journalist or merely a person who I mean, not merely a journalist in a sense. What I meant to say is that in a way you should not appear to be a citizen who just sees some shallow things on WhatsApp or this that consumes media and then just trying to say it. You should be somebody who has read authentic sources, has an opinion of its own, and then coming forward. I mean, very mature way. So, and then the another important aspect, either they'll ask you a lot on current, I mean, they say your DAF. So in my case, they asked me nothing except my DAF in all the interviews, and I got pretty much like consistent scores. I wanted more, but I always got 173, 173, 176. So that was my score with UPSC. I don't know how they made it so consistent. So above average, but not very extraordinary. But then extraordinary, I mean 195 plus 200 plus. It comes with sort of peculiar things happening in that particular day. So but with your hard work, I would say you can always be assured that you will never score too low. You will never score below average or average marks. You will always score above average. So that was my goal. That exceptional marks will come based on certain many factors on that particular day. But there is something which you can always do that you can get above average marks. Then coming to your graduation. From graduation, they may not ask you very specialist kind of question because they know if you, especially in my case, people like me, where my optional is also the same as I have graduation. So, but what is important for your subject specialization is your basics and fundamentals and the first principles. So, if you are let's say any graduation that you have, for example I have commerce, so they may ask me very fundamental question that what is loans and advances, what is the difference into that, and they may ask me certain metrics that are going on in the world. So they may ask me inflation of a particular country and explain about it, things like that, if they think I'm from economics background. I remember Air Marshal had asked me something. He said that he was introducing me to his panelists, and he was saying, and the way he speaks, no, he would make you very comfortable, praise you a lot, and then would ask something. So he said, so today we have a very, very great economist in front of us from Sri Ram College of Commerce. And then he asked me, do you know Amartya Sen? I said, yes sir, I know. And then he said, he's also a good economist like you, like me, right? I had done nothing. So that's the way they make you comfortable. So he said, he's also a very great economist like you. And then he's talking about capability approach. And then he asked me a couple of questions related to Amartya Sen. And then what is very, very important is whatever is current affairs are going, having an opinion on that nationally and internationally is supremely critical. Now, they may be very less. For example, a person like me where deaf is so much, um, but I mean, current affairs can be asked anytime. So I remember they asked me about EWS reservation. Since I had mentioned that I wanna earlier, I used to write that I'm a debate champion in black money debate. So I had, yes, in my first attempt in my def, I had mentioned that I wanna debate on black money. So that's why they asked that what is how why did you? I remember my interviewer ma'am asked me that, Tarun, why only you got the prize? Tell us in one line. And then I said, ma'am, because I did not merely tell about the problem of black money, but I also gave them the solutions. And obviously, her next question would be, what are the solutions of black money? So I had read a lot of books for just to answer this question. So I had read a book, Black Money and Tax Havens. I had read a book, It's Raining Black. And I had read the act which was introduced by the government back then, Black Money Act, which is popularly called so. And so I had a thorough opinion on this. So in 3 words, 3 points, I said this. So again, brevity and concreteness matters in interview, and your preparedness all only comes to rescue. So in your brain, I mean, write down on a piece of paper what are the possible questions which are possible from your personal background, from your DAF, from current affairs, and then having an opinion on current affairs. So, for example, right now war is going on. Ukraine is fighting, Israel is fighting. So all these wars, you should have an opinion about it. And if you are sort of in those professions, they may ask you about drones also. That how drone warfare is being there, and how we can how what are the lessons for us to learn. And similarly, the nation situation, its economy, its governance, its so you should have an opinion on all those issues. So pretty much all that is interview all about. So it is not random. It demands a lot of preparation. It demands a lot of seriousness. So interview, I would say, is most important because it creates a difference of 30, 40 marks. So think about it. In my first attempt, I had 514 All India rank, and if I had 8 or 10 more marks, which is very easy to get in interview, then I would have probably got that particular year itself IPS. So because marks are so narrow, I mean, differences are so narrow that in each particular increase in marks, there are so many students. So the struggles of years could have been saved. So that's how interview matters a lot. So prepare really well for it, and listen to good podcasts, listen to good content online, whatever you like. So use YouTube a lot. I used to do that. So my 70 to 80% preparation was based on YouTube, and read authentic government sources for any opinion that you want to frame, especially on IR matters. Your position should never differ from your nation's position, if it is the nation's position. And yes, what else? Other than that, on that particular day, some other things that matters a lot is the way you dress up. So do dress the way you want. So some people are not comfortable, let's say in English, sort of Western suit. So I remember in my first attempt, I did wear a tie, a suit, and all that. This particular time, I wore a Jodhpuri suit, Bangala as it is called. I liked it, and it is Indian, so I did that. Now, what dress whatever way you like, in the sense, but it should be formal. It should be very, very neat and clean, and it should be respectful. And then, secondly, about your the way you greet is important. So, as I said before, the way you enter and what do you greet, and greet everybody. You are not supposed to merely greet the chairperson. You are supposed to greet everybody. So figure out your way around it. I used to go and say good morning to everyone. Sometimes I'll do it individually, or I'll say good morning to chairperson, and I'll look at everybody in the room, and I'll say good morning to all the team members. Something like that, I'll say. And then the person would ask me to sit, and I'll sit. And that's how the way you sit also becomes very, very important. Your posture should be good, and your back should be erect, right? You should be attentive and all the time, and you should be uh, confident in your posture. So that's very important. Eye contact. Somebody said that we should make eye contact with everyone like we are when we are talking, but often it's not possible. So what I used to do is I'll be looking like 90%, 80-20 ratio sort of a thing I used to maintain there. So, for example, if someone is asking me a question, I'll be looking only at that interview member. So because they don't jump in between, so they are very, very nice people. So one after another, they ask questions. So when someone is asking a question, address that person very respectfully, like say, thank you, ma'am, for asking that, things like that. Ma'am, I would like to say this, right? And then in between, just look at everyone else around, right? Otherwise, just keep looking into the eyes of that person very, very interestingly and in a very confident way. So that's what I used to do about eye contact. And thirdly, how to end the interview is very, very important. So for that, you may decide in advance that okay, how would you greet the members, because they would be saying, okay, Tarun, it was very nice talking to you and all the best. So something like that, they'll say, okay, we end the interview now. You may please proceed. Things like that, they'll say. Now, what would you say? Would you merely stand up? Would you say thank you and then leave, or would you say, okay, it was an amazing conversation, sir or ma'am, and then it was very nice talking to you, and have a good day, have a good time, and we'll meet soon, right? Whatever you want to say. I mean, but it has to be very friendly. I mean, we need not to be mechanical out there. It must be remembered that we are talking to human beings, and so why not, as a very good human being would do respectfully, is that we sort of once we are parting off, those words are important. So how do you end the interview is very, very important. So thanking every member is very important while you end the interview, and they would be saying it also. Did you say thank you to all of them or not? And because each member often they lift their head once you say thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone, they lift their head and say okay, thank you, and a smile comes at their face. So that end thing is very, very important in any meeting. Even otherwise, I mean, even if it was not an interview, in any meeting, it is very important that you thank everyone and be grateful for them, for their time, for their interest in you. Maybe it's a big thing. Someone is taking interest in you, right? So five people are there. They are totally interested to understand who you are as a person. So that is very, very important. So thank them well, and then exit well, and then before exiting, before you end, I mean, close the door, just get back and again give them a beautiful smile and then come out. And then do not forget to thank the person who opens the gate for you while entering also and while exiting also. So if there is somebody, the doorman or the door person, who does this thing for you, be very, very respectful and be very thankful to that. They would be watching that also perhaps. Even if they don't watch, it is very, very important. And if you are using water, which will be there for you, finish it, do not waste water. And so you may keep drinking water also, that's not a problem. So it's a beautiful conversation. So, and you may take any amount of time for giving an answer. So if you want to sort of concise your thought, uh, ask them that okay, sir, I need a bit of time, and then pick up a paper. There will be paper and pencil also for you. Just note down something and whatever you want to say. So do not be mechanical, do not be in a hurry to give any answer. Take your time, breathe, and then if you are like confused, just have slow breathing inside, come back to normalcy. So these techniques also help. The breathing techniques also help. Like if you breathe into 4 counts, come back to normal, right? So if you breathe slowly, you again come back to normal. So do these things before you enter into the hall. Before entering into the interview hall, go check out your face and your hair, do that before going there. So go into the washroom and then make your hair properly and make your face properly, and then practice before the mirror for interview. I mean, see how do you smile, see how do you look while you smile, look how do you look when you talk, what is your hand movement, is it too much, things like that. So there we often don't do hand movements like I'm doing here. So we're there. We sit very peacefully, very calmly, and then we answer the questions. Most of the time, we don't use too many hand gestures for those people. So that's pretty much all about interview. So I made a video about it because I thought that rather than responding to everyone individually in this way, I'll make a video on what I have to say regarding personality test. But as regarding this thing, you can make it completely predictable. In my case, 90% of the personality test was predictable, and they asked only those questions which I wanted them to ask. So I can explain, go on and on about it, about my experience, particularly my first attempt. But I made it this way that they'll keep asking me questions which I want them to ask. So in my case, it was very comfortable. It was a comfortable conversation. Otherwise, it can get scary for some people when they ask. and very respectfully, even if you don't know the silliest of question and the easiest of question, just say very respectfully, sir, I don't know, I should have known. You should create 2 3 lines for this thing in advance. So, for example, you may say, okay, sir, I should have known it better. I'll check it out. I don't remember it as of now. I didn't look at it properly. I didn't look at it at depth. So things like that have different versions of saying no rather than saying no clearly. So that's all. So take it as a most important meeting and a very respectful meeting and things like that. So all the very best. Good luck to you, and you will do great. Always have this faith. And the lastly, I would like to mention about power of manifestation also. I didn't know it back then, but I learned it in my IPS training. So pick up a diary and write whatever you would be doing tomorrow, let's say, and then imagine that that thing already happened. So this thing would already happen. So I wrote about this meeting yesterday in my diary that okay, I'll create such kind of a video, and this video is happening right now. So you can manifest. So visualizing is very very important. So visualize that meeting. Okay, this is the way I'll dress up. This is the way I'll walk. This is the way the person would open the door. This is the way the doorbell will ring. This is the way door would open and I'll walk in. This is the way I'll smile. I would smile. This is the way I would greet them. So imagine as if the end, live the interview before you are sitting in the interview. Okay, so live that reality like 1,000 times in your brain. Okay, this is the way this they would ask this question, and then I'll respond in this particular way. I'll give them this hint, then they will ask me this further question, and believe me, it would exactly play out like that. I mean, most of the times. So manifest and write in your diary, attract good things, listen to good content. Since you have time, so you can practice meditation. That would help. I didn't do it back then, but I practice it sometime now. It is really helpful. Read Vivekananda. This is one thing which I would have done differently if I was giving interview now. So I had discovered amazing books of written by Swami Vivekananda. I wish I would have read them before. They ask you a lot of questions about India, right? What is India? So Vivekananda's view is very very good in that regard. So read that book, I Am a Voice Without Form, written by Vivekananda. I mean, it's a compilation of some of his speeches. It is forwarded by Dr. Abdul Kalam sir. And then read Karma Yoga, read Gyan Yoga and Raj Yoga of Swami Vivekananda. They are very small books, but they are very, very important. So they would give you an idea of who am I, what's my identity, what nation is, what is Indian identity versus Western identity, things like that. So these books are really important. Then read some psychology books, and something which would keep you happy and things like that, and which would broaden your perspective. So interview is always about broaden perspective and having an opinion about things. And then the issue which is very very important, which would be asked, do not hesitate to buy some nice decent books and then read about those issues. So if you are very very sure that from you Israel would be asked, read about Israel, even if you would have to read some books on it. So do not hesitate to go in at any length to prepare for interview. Prepare hard for it, and then prepare your city also, your area also. So that's all about the interview. All the very best. Good luck, and I know you will do great. And let's keep nation. I mean, let's keep working hard. I mean, keep doing great and take the nation forward. And also do join the mission Igniting Students. So we are working on the mission Igniting Students, where we wish that professionals go and talk to the students. They may do it online, like I'm doing as of now, and we may do podcasts around issues about the things which you are expert in, and we may also try to contribute to some topics, let's say ethics, which people often don't figure it out in civil services. So it's not necessarily restricted to civil services. Our motive is to sort of help students in a way, reach out to students and then give them a practical viewpoint. So that's our motive. So join Igniting Students. There is Telegram channel ignitingstudents.org. There's this group ignitingstudents.org, and channel is also there, UPSC Infinity by ignitingstudents.org. And then there is YouTube channel also, Igniting Students is the name of the YouTube channel. So do join the initiative, contribute to it, and in whatever manner you can, and let's keep this culture going, where we say that look, what was always there in India, that everyone is sharing their knowledge, whatever they have gathered over the period of time. So this is the thing that we have gathered over the years. So that's for the video for you, and all the best, and you will do great, and have faith. Bye bye. Have a good day.